Captain Marcus Webb was looking at the stars when everything changed. He stood on the observation deck of the International Space Station, watching Earth turn below him. The planet was blue and green, beautiful and peaceful. He had been in space for 6 months, and he still felt the same wonder every time he looked down at home. The alarm started without warning. Red lights flashed across the observation deck. Marcus turned away from the window and ran toward the control center. His heart was beating fast. In his 20 years as an astronaut, he had never heard an alarm like this. Dr. Sarah Wilson was already looking at the sensors when Marcus arrived. Her face was white. She kept looking at the screen, then back at Marcus, then back at the screen again. She did not speak. She did not need to speak. Marcus could see the numbers on the display, and he understood what they meant. 3 ships. They were massive. They were moving toward Earth at a speed that should not have been possible. Their hulls were dark metal that reflected light in strange ways. They did not look like any ship built by humans. They did not look like they belonged to any nation on Earth. "Get me the communication systems," Marcus said. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking. He held them together so no one would see. The lead ship sent a message. It came in binary code, which the station's computer translated into English. The words appeared on every screen in the station. They appeared on screens all over the world at the same time. "This planet is now under hegemony control. Surrender all weapons and resources within 1 hour. Failure to comply will result in planetary annihilation." Marcus read the words 3 times. Then he read them again. He could not believe they were real. This was not something that happened. This did not happen to Earth. Earth was small and alone. Earth did not matter to anyone in the galaxy. At least, Marcus thought that Earth did not matter. He was wrong. Within minutes, every government on Earth received the message. The President of the United States was in a meeting when his advisors brought him the news. President Robert Harrison was a man who had dealt with many crises, but this was something different. This was something that no one had ever dealt with before. In the United Nations headquarters in New York, the Secretary General called an emergency meeting. Nations that had been fighting each other for decades suddenly sat in the same room. They all stared at the same message. They all understood that their problems with each other meant nothing now. The military bases around the world came alive with activity. Generals and commanders looked at their weapons and their ships and their planes. They all asked the same question: could they fight these aliens? The answer came from Dr. Amanda Foster. She was the lead scientist working on planetary defense. She had studied every piece of information about space warfare that humans knew. She had built models and run simulations. Now, she stood in front of the president and the military leaders of the world. "We cannot win," she said. Her words were simple and true. "Their ships are orbiting above us. Our missiles cannot reach them. Our planes cannot fly that high. Our weapons cannot hurt them. We have no way to fight them." The room was silent. Everyone understood what this meant. Humanity had no defense. Humanity was helpless. But something was happening on Earth that the aliens did not know about. Something that their old data could not explain. The people of Earth were not as divided as the aliens thought they would be. The aliens had studied human behavior for many years. But their data was old. It was 40 years old. In 40 years, the world had changed. In Tokyo, soldiers were preparing weapons alongside workers who had never held a gun before. In London, people were leaving their homes and moving to safer places. In Rio de Janeiro, families were gathering together, holding each other, not screaming or running. In Cairo, a mother was telling her children that they would be okay, that they would face this together. Governments did not have time to argue about who would lead or what the plan should be. There was no time for long meetings and debates. There was 1 hour before the deadline. There was 1 hour before the aliens would attack. The president made a choice. He called every leader of every nation. He told them what Amanda Foster had told him. Humans could not win a war in space. But humans could win a war on Earth. Humans knew Earth. Humans knew how to survive. Humans knew how to fight even when the enemy was stronger. A decision was made. There would be no surrender. There would be no peaceful handover of weapons and resources. There would be resistance. The president announced this to the world at 59 minutes after the hour. He spoke from the White House, and his words were heard everywhere. He did not speak about winning. He spoke about surviving. He spoke about protecting those who could not protect themselves. He spoke about standing together. We are human, the president said. Our home is Earth. We will not give it up. We will not surrender our children. We will not surrender our future. We will stand together, and we will fight. We will lose people we love. We will suffer, but we will not give up. This is our world, and we will defend it. The aliens received no surrender message. Instead, they watched as humans moved. Millions of people left cities. Supplies began moving into underground places. Hospitals and schools were moved to safe locations. The power grids in major cities shut down. Water treatment plants were disabled by their own workers. Humans were destroying the things the aliens wanted to take. Admiral Vorn, the commander of the alien fleet, was confused. His data said that humans would surrender. His data said that humans valued their own lives above everything else. His data said that humans would give up their world to save themselves. But humans were not giving up. Humans were preparing to fight. Humans were preparing to lose. Humans were preparing to do things that made no logical sense. The deadline passed. The aliens waited for a response. No response came. Instead, they saw Earth preparing for war. They saw people moving into the ground. They saw weapons being hidden. They saw humans united in a way that should not have been possible. Captain Marcus Webb was still on the space station. He watched as the alien ships began to move. He watched as small landing craft started to come down from the larger ships. He watched as Earth prepared to fight. He knew that no one on the station would survive what was coming. He knew that he would probably die in the next few hours. But he was not afraid. He was not afraid because he knew that the people below him were not giving up. He knew that humanity was going to fight. He opened a communication channel and sent a message down to Earth. "We see you coming," he said, "and we are ready." The alien landing craft came down in 3 different places. One landed in North America, one in Europe, and one in Asia. Each craft carried 500 soldiers and equipment that humans had never seen before. The aliens expected to meet resistance, but they expected it to be weak and disorganized. They were wrong. Commander Lucas Hayes stood in a bunker deep beneath the city of Denver. Around him were soldiers from 12 different countries. They had only met each other 3 days ago, but they were working together like a team that had trained for years. On the wall in front of them was a large map of the North American continent. Different colored lines showed the location of alien forces and human resistance groups. They landed at 500 hours, Lucas said, pointing at the map. Right now they are trying to organize and find supplies. They think they can move into our cities and take what they need. We are going to show them that they are wrong. The plan was not to fight the aliens directly. Lucas understood that human soldiers with guns could not defeat aliens with advanced weapons. Instead, the plan was to deny the aliens everything they wanted. The first target was the water treatment facility outside of Denver. 20 soldiers, led by a captain named David Moore, made their way to the facility in the dark. They did not have much time. The aliens would need water within hours. The soldiers reached the facility without being seen. They knew this place. Many of them had worked here or lived near it. They knew the systems, the pipes, and the weak points. David Moore looked at the other soldiers. They all understood what they had to do. They moved quickly and quietly. They placed explosives in the control center. They destroyed the filtration systems. They made the water unsafe to drink. Within 20 minutes, the facility was useless. At the same time, other groups of soldiers were attacking power stations. The aliens needed electricity to run their equipment and charge their weapons. Humans had built these power stations. Humans knew how to destroy them. Groups of soldiers moved through the night, destroying transmission lines, blowing up transformers, and shutting down power plants. City after city went dark. The aliens tried to respond, but they were spread too thin. 500 soldiers cannot control a continent. The aliens tried to find humans to capture, to force them to work. But the humans had disappeared. They had gone underground, into shelters, into tunnels, into places the aliens could not reach. In the underground bunker, Dr. Patricia Chun was looking at tissue samples under a microscope. Patricia was a scientist, and her job was to understand the aliens. She had collected samples from the landing sites where aliens had died. She was looking at their cells, their biology, their weaknesses. "I found something," Patricia said to Lucas. Her voice was excited. "Look at this." Lucas looked through the microscope. He saw things he did not understand. Patricia explained it to him in simple words. "The aliens breathe air," she said. "But their bodies are not like ours. They have a different chemistry. Earth's bacteria, the small living things in our soil and water, they can make the aliens very sick. Some of them might even kill them." Lucas understood what this meant. The aliens could not be on Earth for long without protective equipment. They could not breathe the air. They could not touch the ground. They could not drink the water. Earth itself was killing them slowly. This changed everything. Lucas called a meeting with all the military leaders. He told them what Patricia had discovered. He told them that the aliens could not survive on Earth without protection. He told them that every alien soldier outside of their ships was already dying. The only question was how long they would last. "Then we do not hide," Lucas said. "We do not run. We take the fight to them." The next phase of the war was different. Humans began to move through the cities. They did not hide from the aliens anymore. They confronted them. They used guns and explosives and anything else they could find. They used their knowledge of the land. They moved through buildings the aliens had never seen before. They used tunnels and back roads and ways to move that the aliens did not understand. The aliens tried to fight back. They had better weapons. Their armor was stronger. Their technology was more advanced. But they were dying. Their protective suits were breaking down faster than they could repair them. Their equipment was failing. The bacteria from Earth was getting inside their ships, poisoning their systems. In one city, a group of aliens tried to set up a base in a shopping center. They thought the large building would protect them. They thought they could defend it from any human attack. But the humans had lived in this building, or one like it. They knew every entrance and every tunnel. They knew where the electricity came from. They knew how to make the building collapse on the aliens inside. After 2 weeks, the aliens had stopped trying to expand their territory. They were simply trying to survive. They were sending messages to their fleet, asking for help. They were asking to be evacuated. Admiral Vorn received a message from the ground commander. The message was short. "We cannot hold. Request immediate evacuation. Planetary surface is hostile. The species is not retreating. They are attacking in organized groups. We are losing soldiers. Request evacuation." Admiral Vorn was shocked. The hegemony had conquered 1,000 worlds. On every one of those worlds, The people had fought for a short time, then given up. They had accepted that they could not win. They had accepted that the hegemony was too strong. But humans were not giving up. Humans were fighting harder the more they lost. Humans were becoming more organized, not less. For every alien that died, 3 humans seemed to take its place. The hegemony's advantage in technology meant nothing if the enemy could not be killed. In the bunker in Denver, Lucas Hayes was making plans for the next attack. Around him, soldiers from a dozen nations were eating simple food and drinking water and getting ready to fight again. They were tired. They were scared. But they were also determined. One soldier, a young man named Kevin, turned to Lucas. "Are we going to win?" he asked. Lucas looked at the soldier. He did not lie. "I do not know," he said. "But we are going to keep fighting. And every day we keep fighting, the aliens get weaker. Every day, they lose more soldiers. Every day, they understand more that they made a mistake coming to Earth." Kevin nodded. He understood. He looked at the other soldiers around him. They all understood. This was not a war that would be won quickly or easily, but it was a war that humans could win if they did not give up. On the map on the wall, the colored lines showed that human resistance groups were spreading across the continent. They were everywhere. They were in every city. They were in every town. The aliens could see those lines, and they could understand what they meant. The aliens had come to Earth expecting a quick victory. What they had found was something completely different. What they had found was a species that would not surrender, that would not quit, that would keep fighting no matter what the cost. What the aliens had found was humanity at war for its survival. By the 3rd month of the invasion, Admiral Vorn was angry. He had called a meeting in his command ship, which orbited above Earth like a metal moon. His commanders stood in front of him, and their faces showed that they all felt the same fear. They had lost so much. They had lost soldiers, equipment, and time. They had not gained anything. "Tell me again why we are losing," Admiral Vorn said. His voice was cold and hard. A commander named Krell stepped forward. "The humans are not following normal patterns," Krell said. "When we conquered the Zarthian Empire, they fought for 3 weeks, then surrendered. When we conquered the Keeler Nation, they fought for 5 days, then asked for peace. Every species fights the same way. They fight, they see that they are losing, they surrender. But humans do not surrender," another commander said. "The more we kill, the more they fight. The more we destroy, the more they resist. It is as if they become stronger when they lose." Admiral Vorn walked to the window and looked down at Earth. The planet was beautiful. It was full of resources that the hegemony needed. The conquest should have been simple. 1,000 other planets had been conquered much more easily. Why was this one different? On the ground, humans were doing things that had never been done before. In what was once called the United States, factories were being turned into places that made weapons. Universities were becoming centers of war strategy. Libraries were being used as storage for supplies and ammunition. Everything that humans had built was being changed to fight the invaders. A scientist named Dr. James Maxwell was working in an underground laboratory near what had once been called Boston. James was a physicist, a man who had spent his whole life studying how energy moved and changed. Now he was using that knowledge to make weapons. James had studied the aliens' weapons. He understood how they worked. He had built devices that could disrupt their technology. He had found ways to break their shields. He had discovered that their weapons used a kind of energy that could be blocked by common materials from Earth. "We can do this," James told the team of scientists working with him. "Their technology is better than ours, but it is not magic. It is science. And we understand science. We can build things to fight them." In another city, a man named Derek Powell was a soldier. Derek was young. only 24 years old. He had been a teacher before the war. He had taught children to read and write. Now he was teaching children how to survive in a world where aliens were trying to kill them. Derek led a group of refugees, mostly women and children, through the ruins of what had been a city. The aliens had bombed the city, trying to destroy it. They thought that if they destroyed the cities, humans would surrender. They did not understand that humans would simply rebuild. One day, Derek and his group were walking through a tunnel when they heard the sound of alien weapons being fired. Derek pushed all the children down and covered them with his body. An alien soldier had found them. The soldier was pointing a weapon at the children. Derek stood up. He put his hands in the air. He stepped in front of the children, blocking them from the alien's sight. "Do not shoot," Derek said. "These are children. They did not choose this war. Let them go." The alien soldier did not speak any human language. It did not need to. It fired its weapon. Derek fell. He did not move again. The alien soldier turned its weapon toward the children, but it did not fire. Instead, it lowered the weapon and walked away. The reason was simple. Behind the alien, more humans had appeared. They had heard the weapon fire. They had come running. The alien soldier knew that if it fired again, it would die. It would take some humans with it, but it would die. And that would accomplish nothing. The humans carried Derek's body away. They would remember what he had done. They would tell his story to others. Derek had made a choice that the aliens did not understand. Derek had chosen to die so that others might live. On every world the hegemony had conquered, soldiers fought to stay alive. On Earth, soldiers died so that others could live. It was a difference that the aliens could not understand. News of Derek's death spread through the resistance. It did not break their will. It strengthened it. Young people who had never been soldiers began to step forward and volunteer. Families who had been hiding came out and joined the fight. The war was no longer just something that soldiers did. It was something that everyone did. Back in his command ship, Admiral Vorn was running out of time. The High Council was asking for results. They wanted Earth conquered. They wanted the resources. They did not care about the cost. But the cost was becoming too high. The cost was becoming impossible. Vorn made a decision. He would attack with everything he had. He would bomb the planet from space. He would destroy entire cities if necessary. He would kill millions of humans. But he would take Earth. The High Council demanded it, and the hegemony was not used to failure. The bombardment started without warning. Missiles came from the sky. Buildings fell down. People died. The world was shaking. But the humans had already moved. They had evacuated the cities. They had gone into bunkers and underground shelters. They had moved to places where the bombs could not reach them. When the bombardment ended, the aliens discovered something terrible. The cities were empty. The people were still alive. The resistance was still fighting. In the bunker in Denver, Lucas Hayes was making plans with leaders from every nation. They all understood what was happening. The aliens were running out of options. The aliens were desperate. "If they are desperate," Lucas said, "then we still have a chance." But the chance would come at a cost that was almost too much to pay. The humans would have to do something that no one wanted to do. They would have to go after the aliens in their ships. They would have to take the fight to them. And that would require a sacrifice that almost no one wanted to make. 3 months into the invasion, Earth was still fighting. The aliens had lost thousands of soldiers. The humans had lost millions. The war was not over. It was only beginning to reach its most important moment. The moment when everything would change. The hegemony had come expecting a quick victory. What they had found was something that they had never found before. They had found a species that would not give up. They had found a species that would not surrender. They had found a species that would die before it surrendered, and that would keep fighting even when dying. They had underestimated humanity, and that mistake was about to cost them everything. After 4 months of fighting, the war had changed. The aliens had stopped trying to capture cities. They had stopped trying to take resources. Now they were just trying to survive. Their ships were damaged. Their soldiers were sick from Earth's air. Their weapons were breaking down faster than they could repair them. Admiral Vorn sat in his command center and looked at the reports. The numbers were very bad. The hegemony had lost over 10,000 soldiers. They had failed to expand their territory for 2 months. They had failed to capture any meaningful resources. The humans were everywhere, and they were still fighting hard. The High Council sent a message. It was not kind. It said that Vorn was failing. It said that he had 1 month to conquer Earth, or he would be removed from command. It said that he would face a trial for his failures. The message made it clear that Vorn would probably be executed. Vorn had one choice. He could either find a way to win, or he would die. Those were the only 2 options. Dr. Amanda Foster was working in the underground laboratory in Washington when she discovered something. She was looking at the hegemony's command ship. She was studying how it worked, how it functioned, how it kept the aliens alive. "I found it," she told Lucas when she had the answer. "I found how to make them leave." Lucas listened carefully as Amanda explained her plan. The plan was almost crazy. The plan was almost impossible. But the plan might work. "The aliens use microorganisms to help clean their air," Amanda said. "Their environmental system is very different from ours. If we introduce Earth bacteria into their system, it will grow and grow. It will fill their oxygen systems. It will make the air in their ships impossible to breathe." Lucas understood. "Someone has to get inside their ship," he said. "Someone has to get into their command center and put the bacteria there." "Yes," Amanda said. "And that person will almost certainly die." That night, Lucas told the other leaders what Amanda had discovered. He told them about the plan. He told them that they would need a volunteer. He told them that the volunteer would probably not come back alive. Within hours, over 3,000 people had volunteered. Young and old, men and women, soldiers and civilians. They all wanted to do this. They all wanted to save Earth. They all understood that this was the moment that would decide everything. The leaders chose Owen Carter. Owen was 28 years old. He had been a soldier for 5 years. He was strong and fast and smart. But more importantly, Owen had lost his entire family in the first bombing of Kansas City. His mother was dead. His father was dead. His sister and brother were dead. Owen had nothing left to lose. Owen had only one reason to live, and that reason was to make sure the aliens paid for what they had done. For 3 days, Owen trained. He learned how to move quietly. He learned how to hide in shadows. He learned how to use the equipment that would help him get into the alien ship. He learned everything that the Resistance could teach him. On the morning that he would go, Owen stood with Lucas and Amanda. They had given him the container with the bacteria. The container was small enough to fit in his hand, but it contained billions of living things that would destroy the alien ship. "When you get inside," Amanda said, "you will need to find the environmental control room. It is where they clean the air and make oxygen. You will need to open the container and put the bacteria into the air system. After you do that, you will need to get out of the ship." Owen nodded. He understood. He also understood that getting out would be very difficult. Getting out might be impossible. "Good luck," Lucas said. He put his hand on Owen's shoulder. "If anyone can do this, it is you." That night, a human transport ship flew toward the hegemony fleet. It had been captured from the aliens weeks before. The humans had studied it. They had learned how to fly it. They had made it look like an alien transport returning from Earth. Owen sat in the pilot's seat. He was flying alone. He was flying into the center of the alien fleet. He was flying toward almost certain death. The alien ships did not stop him. The humans had sent many captured transports back to the fleet before. The aliens had no reason to suspect this one was different. Owen landed on the command ship. He moved through the corridors like a ghost. He did not make noise. He did not make mistakes. He avoided the aliens who were walking through the ship. He found the stairs that led down into the lower levels. He found the place where the air was made and cleaned. The environmental control room was empty. Owen did not waste time wondering why. He opened the container of bacteria. He poured it into the air system. The bacteria would spread quickly. The bacteria would grow in the oxygen systems. The bacteria would make the air impossible to breathe. Owen heard running feet. The aliens had discovered him. He had only seconds. He ran toward the exit. Behind him, he heard the sound of weapons being fired. A blast hit him in the shoulder. He felt pain, but he did not stop. He kept running. He reached the transport ship and started the engines. The ship lifted off as energy blasts hit the hull. The ship was damaged, but it was flying. Owen was flying back toward Earth, but Owen was bleeding. The blast had hurt him very badly. He knew that he did not have much time. In the command center, Admiral Vorn was receiving reports. The environmental system was failing. The bacteria was spreading. The oxygen was becoming poisoned. The air was becoming impossible to breathe. Sound the evacuation alarm, Vorn commanded. All personnel leave the ship. Abandon the command ship now. The aliens left their ships. They abandoned their equipment. They left behind their weapons and their supplies. They were saving their lives, but they were losing the war. Without the command ship, the fleet could not function. Without the command ship, the invasion was over. Owen's transport ship crashed in the ocean. The rescue boats found him hours later. Owen was alive, but barely. The blast had poisoned his blood. The doctors worked very hard to save him, but it was not enough. Owen died 3 days later. But before he died, he knew that Earth was saved. He knew that the aliens were leaving. He knew that his sacrifice had meant something. He knew that his family would be remembered. He knew that humans had defeated the hegemony. Above Earth, the alien ships were leaving. They were flying away at great speed. They were leaving empty supplies and broken weapons behind. They were leaving the planet to the humans who had fought so hard and paid so much to keep it. The war was over. Humanity had won. The celebrations lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. People came out of their bunkers and shelters. They walked into the sunlight for the first time in months. They hugged each other. They cried. They laughed. They screamed with joy. The aliens were gone. Earth was free. But when the celebrations ended, the reality became clear. The war had destroyed much of Earth. Cities were in ruins. Farms were destroyed. Hospitals were damaged. Schools were gone. Millions of people were dead. Millions more were injured. The world was broken in ways that would take decades to fix. President Margaret Sullivan stood in front of the United Nations. She did not speak about victory. She spoke about the cost of victory. She spoke about the people who had died. She spoke about the families who had lost loved ones. She spoke about the pain that Earth would need to heal. "We have won," the president said. "But winning has cost us more than any of us expected. We have lost millions of people. We have lost our cities. We have lost our homes. But we have kept our world. We have kept our freedom. We have kept our right to live our own lives on our own planet. That is what we fought for. That is what we bled for. That is what we died for." The president announced something new. There would be a time of rebuilding. Every nation would work with every other nation. Resources would be shared. Knowledge would be shared. Humans would build something new together. Humans would build something better. The rebuilding started immediately. Engineers and workers from every nation came together. They built new homes. They built new schools. They built new hospitals. They built new roads and new power systems. They built these things together as one people, not as separate nations. For the first time in human history, the world was working as one dot in Washington. A team of scientists was studying the hegemony ships that had been left behind. The aliens had abandoned their technology when they ran. Dr. Amanda Foster led the team. She was looking at every piece of equipment, trying to understand how it worked. "This will change everything," Amanda said. "We can use their technology. We can build our own ships. We can go to space. We can protect ourselves from any invasion in the future. We will never be helpless again." The scientists worked day and night. They learned the secrets of alien technology. They took ideas from the hegemony ships and made them their own. In 6 months, they had built the first human spaceship that used alien technology. In a year, they had built 5 more. But more important than the technology was something else. Something that the war had changed inside people. Humanity had always been divided. Nations fought other nations. People fought other people. But the invasion had changed that. Humans had seen that together. They could do anything. Humans had seen that together. They were strong. In a small town in Kansas, a memorial was built for Derek Powell. Derek had died protecting children he did not know. Derek had made a choice to die so that others could live. His family created a monument with his name on it. The monument said, "He stood between darkness and innocence. He chose sacrifice over survival. He's remembered." But Derek was not the only one remembered. Over 2 million memorials were built across Earth. 2 million people had died in the war. Every one of them was remembered. Every one of them was honored. Every one of them was known. Owen Carter's name was written in the largest memorial in Washington. Owen had gone into the heart of the enemy to save his world. Owen had not come back alive, but he had come back a hero. His sister's children, who had survived the war, came to the memorial every year. They told their children about Owen. They told them about what he had done. They told them about the sacrifice. The hegemony did not come back. A message had been sent throughout the galaxy. The message said, "Do not come to Earth. Do not attack humans. Humans will fight. Humans will not surrender. Humans will sacrifice everything to protect their world. Do not underestimate them." Word spread to every star system that the hegemony knew. Word spread to every empire and every kingdom. Everyone knew about Earth now. Everyone knew that Earth was not a weak planet. Everyone knew that Earth was dangerous. Everyone knew that humans would fight to the death. Traders started coming to Earth. They came to buy and sell. They came to learn from humans. They came to understand how such a small, weak planet could defeat such a powerful invasion force. Many of them did not believe the story at first. They thought the humans were bragging, but then they met the humans. They saw how the humans had united. They saw how the humans had rebuilt their world. They saw how the humans had taken alien technology and made it their own. They understood that the story was true. The story was not exaggeration. It was not bragging. It was simply what humans had done. 2 years after the war ended, Earth joined the galactic community. Not as a weak planet that needed protection, but as an equal. As a planet that had proven itself. As a world of a species that should not be underestimated. President Sullivan spoke at the opening of the new Galactic Council meeting. She stood in front of representatives from 100 different worlds. She stood in front of beings that were different from humans in every way. "We are human. the president said. "We are from a small planet. We are not the strongest. We are not the fastest. We are not the most advanced. But we are here. We are free. We are alive. We survived an invasion that should have destroyed us. We survived because we would not quit. We survived because we would not surrender. We survived because we were willing to die for something we believed in. We are human, and we will always be human. And if any of you think that means you can defeat us, you will learn the same lesson that the hegemony learned." The council was silent. They all understood what the president was saying. They all understood that Earth had to be treated with respect. They all understood that humans were not a species to be taken lightly. Back on Earth, the work of rebuilding was continuing. It would take many years to finish. It would take many decades to fully repair the damage that the war had caused. But the people of Earth did not mind. They were rebuilding together. They were building something new. They were building a world where humans worked as one people, not as separate nations. In schools, children were learning the story of the invasion. They were learning about Derek Powell and Owen, Carter and Amanda Foster and Lucas Hayes. They were learning about all the people who had died to save Earth. They were learning that humans had done something that should have been impossible. They were learning that humans had won when no one believed they could win. And they understood. They understood that they were human. They understood that being human meant being willing to fight for what you believed in. They understood that being human meant being willing to sacrifice for others. They understood that being human meant never giving up, even when everything seemed impossible. The invasion was over. The war was over. Earth was changed. Humans were changed. But the message was clear. Humans would always defend their home. Humans would always fight for their freedom. Humans would always choose sacrifice over surrender. The hegemony had come to Earth expecting a quick victory. What they had found was something they could never have imagined. They had found humanity. And that was something that no technology, no weapons, no advanced science could defeat.